In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the different microorganisms that live in and on moss. Firstly, let's take a look at the sample collection. I used a small yellow shovel to scoop up some moss from the soil. This moss was growing next to some trees. Then, I put the moss in small plastic containers. I collected 3 containers of moss in total. After bringing them home, I let one of them soak in a petri dish, and I just let the other 2 soak in their containers. Letting the moss soak in water is important, because it reanimates any microorganisms in cryptobiosis, which is a dormant state. Here is what the moss looks like under a stereo microscope. If you are interested to see more stereo microscopy, check out the link in the description. This is one of the most common microorganisms in my moss samples. It is known as a rotifer. Rotifers are not single-celled organisms. In fact, they are animals. Their bodies consist of hundreds to around 1,000 cells. Another animal commonly found in my moss samples is the nematode. Nematodes are microscopic worms that live just about everywhere. However, they are mostly found in soil and freshwater habitats. This is a ciliate. Unlike rotifers and nematodes, ciliates consist of only one cell. Ciliates move around and feed using tiny hair-like structures known as cilia. Another single-celled organism is the amoeba. Amoebae do not have a cell wall, which allows them to change their shape freely. They do that to move around and capture prey. But even tinier organisms inhabit moss. For example, bacteria. Bacteria are extremely tiny prokaryotic organisms, meaning they lack a membrane-bound nucleus. These are the microorganisms and microanimals that I most commonly find in my moss samples. However, other things can be found in moss too. For example, these tiny photosynthetic cells. They are likely green flagellates, which are tiny microbes that move around using a hair-like structure known as a flagellum. Another example would be this tiny worm-like organism, which is actually the larva of an insect. And finally, one of the most well-known but challenging to find microanimals, the tardigrade. Tardigrades are tiny but resilient animals. They can enter a state of cryptobiosis in which they can survive extreme conditions such as heat, pressure, and radiation. They inhabit moss and lichen. However, they are challenging to find. While tiny organisms such as mites and springtails can also be observed in moss, I was not able to find them this time. So instead, I'm showing you some older footage. Each moss sample has different microorganisms at different concentrations, and the diversity of microorganisms found in moss is extremely high. And that's the end of our video. Until the end of this video, I'll be showing clips of microorganisms found in these samples. Bye. See you next time.